Welcome to Philip Miller Furniture. In this video, we're going to learn how to make this amazing farmhouse coffee table. It's 3.5 by 3.5 and it sits in my living room. Alright, as you can see here, I'm using 1x4s for the skirt. I got them lined up here on my miter saw. I'm going to cut an even cut so they're exactly the same length. This will help when I put it all together that they're all square. You can see that this side over here is perfectly square and I use my level here to help me. And we're going to make the cut here in just a second. You can see now after I did the cut, they're perfectly in line with each other. Okay, I set up my Kreg jig and I'm going to put 2 holes on each side of the boards. So one here and then 2 holes here, and I'm going to do that for all 4 of my skirts. And then I will attach it to the top here, right in the center, so I have to do some lines and make sure I line it up correctly. Okay, you can see I've drilled the holes. Now I'm just going to repeat this process for all of them. Alright, the top skirt has all the Kreg jig holes in it, and I'll be assembling here in just a minute. Okay, so in addition to the Kreg jigging of the skirt, I'm also using Titebond 3. I'm going to put some glue right here, and then I've drawn some lines to line everything right into the center. Basically, that's going to give it the best bond possible, considering it's going to be at the base and it's going to be being hit a lot and kicked around by your feet. I want to make sure that bond is really strong. So again, I'm just using Titebond is the glue. I love this stuff. It works really great. Okay, as you can see, I've already screwed one in, and I'm just making sure that everything is square and aligned. You can draw a line like I did, but I always like to take my square and line it up and make sure it's perfectly true. And this is one of the good ways to do it. These are really handy to use. If you don't have one, I recommend getting one. Okay, you can see I've attached 1/4 of the sides that I have to do for the coffee table. The second part of this gets a little tricky because you can't stand it up on its edge because it's already attached to this, so I had to screw it in standing straight up, which was a little bit more challenging, but that's it. I just have to repeat this 3 more times and I will have the base, and then I will do the top skirt up here and install that. Alright, so I caught a mistake that I had. I put the skirt level to this line, which I actually needed to drop it by 3/4 of an inch to accommodate for the slats that are going to be sitting on top of it. So that way when you're looking at the table, this is the under table, I guess, it had enough room. So I just got to make an adjustment. Thank goodness I only built one and I didn't have it all assembled because that would have been a real big pain. But I caught it early and I'm making that adjustment. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the top skirt. This way I can get the best leverage and bond by doing at least 2 of them in the position where this is on the bottom and I'm attaching the top. Because once I turn this on the side, I then have to attach it to this one when it's vertical, which is a little bit more challenging. But at least I know I have a good bond on at least one of them. So this is the process and technique that I'm using to attach the skirts. Alright, I have one of the 4 sides completed. You can see the top skirt and the bottom skirt are assembled. This is the back view of it. And then this will be the front view that you will see. And then I will have pieces of wood that'll be laying on it, well, like this. That'll come out like that. It'll look really sweet. Alright, so I'm in the process of installing all the skirts. You can see how I'm doing it here. I've got it basically done. All I have to do is attach that one over there. So I'm going to stand everything up and do it. I found out this technique was the best to get the best pressure and torque that I needed on the section here. Again, these are glued and then Kreg jigged in. And it is offset here by 3/4 of an inch to account for the top that's going to be sitting on this. Okay, I'm about to put the other side on. You can see how I'm gonna do it. I'm basically gonna flip this up on top of itself. That way I can get the right pressure I need to screw them in at each angle. I figured this is the best technique to use. There might be other ways to do it, but I thought this was the simplest way. And that ensures that they're gonna align correctly and adhere with all the glue. So I'll show you what this looks like when it's complete. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. If you like this stuff and want to see more things, just write in the comments below. I'll be happy to look at that and take your recommendations. Okay, I've installed all the skirts, the top and the bottom. They're all screwed in, it's all glued up. I just have to wait for it to dry. The next step that I'm going to be working on is the bottom here. I'm going to be building all of that. And then last, I'll build the top part and attach all that. So up next in the video, you'll see how I'm going to be making that, so stay tuned. All right, I'm laying the table out here. I'm going to be Craig jigging the bottom of it. I've marked B for bottom for the board so I don't get anything mixed up. I did a test piece right here, you can see. I used 1.5 inch setting on my Craig jig in 2.5 inch screws. This is just holding by one screw and it's really solid. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some glue into it before I actually tighten it, and then that'll be it. All right, you can see here I've put some holes in the bottom of the top, and I'm just going to continue all the way down for the rest of them. All right, so here you can see I'm gluing up the edge before I put it down and screw it to this piece. Just wanted to show you this before I do it. Another thing I want to show you is I have my torque set to my drill at 8. This is really soft pine, so I want to make sure I have that set, otherwise it just keep going through and that would not be good. So I have the torque set to 8. Okay, you can see here where I've marked the cutout, the notch. That's where this is going to go. I flipped the whole thing upside down to make sure I measured it correctly. And now I'm going to cut that notch out right here with my jigsaw. Okay, I've dry fitted everything. You can see it's just held in by pressure right now, but that's what it'll look like underneath. It came out really good. And I'm just going to continue cutting all the ones for here, and then I'm going to Craig jig the bottom of them, and it'll be one slab that I'll put together. Okay, I've fitted the base in. It's a test fit. Now I got to pull it all out, and I'm going to actually nail this in and glue it. So there you go. It's coming along, looking really good. Okay, in here what I decided to do was put a center brace in. That's just going to give it a little more support when we put books and baskets and things underneath this. I didn't want it to bow or bend, so I just added that additional support. Okay, I applied glue, and now I'm going to be gluing and nailing all this up. I'm going to be using my nail gun over here, and basically what I'm doing is going to put this board in and then nail it in. Okay, you can see I'm nailing everything in with some brad nails. They are 1 3/4 inches. You can see I'm almost done. And it's coming out pretty good. Okay, the boards are glued and nailed in at the bottom. Again, I just used brad nails. I had to set some of them because they came up a little bit high. But now I'm just gonna sand the edges just a little bit, clean it up, and then it'll be ready for the distressed painting, which will be the undertone dark brown color that I've chosen. And then I'll paint it white and then lightly sand it to give it the worn look. All right, as you can see, I've prepped everything with the undercoat. This will help with the weathering. It's a technique that you do a two-tone. So you put where you're gonna be sanding off the first layer, you're gonna use a really fine paper like a 220 grit. And then next, I'm gonna let this dry and then I'll paint it white. All right, as you can see, I'm applying the first coat of white over on top of this. Again, this is a distressing technique. It's going to take several coats, as you can kind of see it bleeding through. And I'm doing it with a paintbrush. I was thinking about spraying it, but I want the hand-worn look, so I figured it'd be better just to hand paint it. Okay, I finished the first coat of white. You can see how it's been applied, and it's a little bit of translucent. You can see where I put the darker coat underneath. So when I apply the next coat, it'll get even brighter, and that'll kind of just disappear. And then when I'm going to sand it, that'll just pop through, and it'll look really good. So there it is, the first coat of white. And then here's the table over here. It's drying, and then it'll be ready for polyurethane next. All right, I'm using a Varathane polyurethane, an oil-based semi-gloss. I'm going to be applying it to the top surface of this coffee table. All right, the top has its first coat of polyurethane. It's coming out really good. I just put the third coat of paint on the base. It's looking really sharp. I really like how it's coming out. I'm gonna let it dry overnight, and then tomorrow I'm gonna go and distress it. All right, as you can see, I've started the distressing process. It's coming out really nicely. You can kind of see how it's working. I'm actually using a 350 grit sandpaper. This is really fine. You want to take it off very slowly and gently and just expose the areas that you would naturally see worn over a long period of time. So just starting a little bit thicker here and then fading it off a little bit. And the same thing goes here. It's coming out really good. I'm just going to continue all the way on through the whole thing. All right, all the distressing is done. You can see how it turned out. It looks really, really good. I'm very pleased with the technique that I used. You can see how I've distressed it along the edge here and also internally here. One thing that I forgot to do was put the Craig jigs in to hold the top. So I just did that a few minutes ago. Install the top now. The top is sitting over here, and it's all going to be assembled here shortly, and I'll show you how it looks. All right, the top has been installed. You can see it here. It came out really well. I'm really pleased with it. I really love the distressed look and the technique that I used on this. The polyurethane semi-gloss oil-based worked out really well. Has a nice good shine to it. And if you have any questions about this process or anything that I did in the video, please feel free to message me in the comments below, and I'll do my best to answer them. Next up is the coffee table in my living room.